Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are finally going to talk about the Rythmik F12SE direct servo subwoofer. If you follow my community page, no doubt you've been looking forward to this. You know I bought a pair of them about 7 weeks ago, but for the purpose of this video, we are only going to focus on a single subwoofer being used for my assessments. All my sound impressions are going to be based on using just one subwoofer. The reason for that is all my past videos where I've reviewed subwoofers have been just one subwoofer, so it wouldn't make sense to review a pair and not just a single subwoofer. We will review the pair at a later date, and I'll tell you about that in the future. So I did use this subwoofer with a lot of different speakers that are super bass heavy like the Bucard S400, and then speakers that hardly have any bass of their own like the Silverline Minuet Supreme Plus that only has a 4-inch driver and it needs serious help in the bass department. I am happy to report this bad boy integrates very, very well with just about anything. I tried the Focal Cora 806, the ELAC DBR62. No matter what speaker I threw at it, it just integrated and disappeared in the room. So back to the subwoofer though. What we've got is a 12-inch driver on the front. We have a 370 watt RMS Class AB amplifier in the rear, and we've got all kinds of knobs and switches for adjustment in the rear as well. Frequency response you can adjust down to 25 Hertz if you need to, and as high as 120. You have variable phase adjustment between 0 and 180, sorry. Obviously you have gain adjustment, there's a PEQ, there's XLR inputs, there's RCA inputs. You can adjust the damping low, medium, and high, and so on. I will leave links below, so if you want to look at pictures of the back of this amplifier, they have it on the Rythmik website. And there are different amplifier options for this model. I chose to go with the standard offering. So real quick, if you're worried that 370 watts isn't a lot of power or enough power for you, consider two things. Thing one, they have designed and engineered the subwoofer for music. This is for a music system for music lovers. So for music, you really don't need that much more power, right? Rythmik does make other models for larger rooms, for theater use, and so on. This bad boy is for a music-only system. Second thing to keep in mind, the direct servo technology is going to help boost efficiency and make better use of that wattage. So its 370 watts is going to be like more than, say, a traditional non-servo design, if you will. How much more is anyone's guess, but at no point did I feel like this bad boy was running out of steam or needed more power. It played plenty loud for my needs, and again, that was using just one. So what does it sound like? You know what I mean? So I already told you it integrates well, but let me talk about that just a little bit more because I'm not kidding here. This thing integrates really well, so well in fact that when I was listening to this subwoofer with the Focal Cora 806, I got up quite a few times to make sure the damn thing was on. And if you're thinking, hey man, that's an amateur move, you're a reviewer, you should totally know when your subwoofer's on, I get that, trust me. I'm a bass head. I've been listening to subwoofers for the better part of 20 years, but this freaking thing integrates that well. I'm not bullshitting here, guys. If you are the kind of person that truly wants your subwoofer to disappear, not draw attention to itself, and just, you know what I mean? This is the one, okay? So let me tell you about some other things that it did really well. Textures and tonal accuracy, phenomenal. When a bass guitarist strum, it sounded so real. It filled out the sound with tonal accuracy and bass note distinction. That was so good. I did have the experience when I closed my eyes of feeling like someone had strummed a bass in front of me in my room. That's not something I generally say because I'll be honest, it's pretty rare where I'll be listening to music and have the impression of, oh, it sounds like someone's really in my room. I usually don't have that experience, but when it came to this and bass guitars, I definitely had that experience. Anyway, it's quick, it's tight, it can play plenty loud, and it can dig very deep. The servo technology, by the way, does also help the frequency response remain flat as the bass reaches its lowest octave, and it does help the bass be a little bit deeper in its overall presentation. So this guy's good, you know what I mean? If you're putting together a music system, I really think you're gonna like this. But just so we're clear, if you're putting together a theater system where you've got a larger room, I don't know if I'd recommend this, you know what I mean? Like I said, Rythmik has other models for that. So let's talk about some comparisons. So let's talk about the cheaper L12. I reviewed that a while back. Now, that's a lot cheaper. This is about double the price. The L12 is 570 bucks. This bad boy is 1,100 in the gloss black finish. It does come in some matte finishes like vinyl wraps. Those are 989 bucks. And there is free shipping if you're in the United States. Outside of the country, unfortunately, you are going to have to pay freight, which does drive the cost up. Sorry, it is what it is. But for what it's worth, if it makes you feel any better, us here in the United States, we pay more for certain speakers because of the shipping. We don't technically get charged a freight bill, for example, but the MSRP is quite a bit higher. For example, the Monitor Audio Bronze 100, 325 euros, or I think, sorry, yeah, like 350 euro in Europe, $599 here in the United States. Anyhow, I digress. So the Rythmik L12, half the price. Can it compete? Not really, it's half the price, guys, come on now. So Rythmik designed the L12 based on consumer feedback. People wanted a cheaper subwoofer that was still really, really good, so they made the L12. Now, it's a great subwoofer, and for its price, I can't think of anything else I would recommend, honestly. But if you want to compare it directly to this, how much better is this? It's double the price. It's textures, it's bass detail, it's articulation, it's integration, it's all better. It's all better, you know? I also reviewed the Rythmik L22. How does that compare? That and this are only $30 apart in price. But again, that is the L series subwoofer, so it's going to be a step down overall compared to the F12SE. So the L12 is going to fall behind in a similar manner that the L12 did compared to this thing directly, right? Its sound quality overall, while being still quite good, it's not going to be as good as the F12SE. The F12SE, simply put, is going to have better sound quality from top to bottom. However, the L22 does give you double the surface area and almost double the wattage. So it is going to add a ton more overall weight and presence and pressurize your room quite a bit more. This, surprisingly, does dig a little bit deeper. I believe the L22's negative 3 dB point is going to be 18 hertz. This guy's rated at negative 2 dB, 14 hertz. So anyhow, let's talk about this compared to SVS SB2000 Pro and SB3000. Those are fine subwoofers. I love those subwoofers, but they are the total opposite of this guy. Where this guy totally disappears in the room, the SVS subwoofers, the SB2000 Pro and 3000, are going to have a little bit more initial attack, slam, and dynamics, and unfortunately, as a result, draw a little bit of attention to themselves. And I'll be honest, I think by design, SVS subwoofers are kind of known for making their presence known. When you buy an SVS subwoofer, you're never disappointed because you know you're getting your money's worth. When the bass kicks in, you're like, boom, that's my subwoofer doing its job. This, on the other hand, doesn't do that. I never had that experience where the bass kicked in and I was like, oh, that's the subwoofer doing its job. That simply never happened. That's how well this bad boy integrates. Now, as far as overall sound quality, the SVS stuff is pretty good, but this did articulate a little bit better. And when I say articulation, I'm talking about note distinction and bass detail. It did have better tonal accuracy as well as far as realism for instruments, and its overall presentation seemed to be a little bit more natural. Let's compare this to the REL HT1205. That's another subwoofer I really like. I own a pair of those also. The REL 1205 is quite a bit cheaper. It's $700. This is $1,100. So they're both good subwoofers, and they're both in the same category, actually, of like integrating really well and having that great tonal accuracy, right? This is still going to take the edge, though, in terms of sound quality overall, whether it's articulation, bass note distinction, and tonal accuracy, and so on, and transients, right? The REL is still quite good and possibly the best at $700 at those things. The REL I did find actually to be a little bit more dynamic in its overall presentation. When the bass kicked in, it definitely pressurized the room just a little bit more than this did for the like initial attack, if you will. So they're fairly similar, but this being a few $100s more is a few $100s better, if you will. So I'm not going to really compare it to anything else because I don't think any other comparisons make sense. You know, the other subwoofers I've reviewed were quite a bit cheaper, you know, like $500 and below, like the Emotiva SE12. That's a great subwoofer for $400, but this is almost, what is that, 3 times the price at this point. It just simply does not make sense. This would blow it out of the water, and even if you had 4 of those, it still would not compete with one of these in my opinion. So, really good subwoofer. Let's recap real quick. Amazing articulation, amazing bass note distinction, amazing tonality and realism, amazing transients, great speed, tons of setup options on the back. If you're putting together a music system, I think you're really going to like the subwoofer. The only knock I have against it is I'll say it integrated just a little too well for my personal taste. I did feel myself missing a little bit of that like wild attack other subwoofers have. But I do understand Part of that, it's for two reasons. One, that's what gives it the good integration. And two, that is the results of the servo technology. The servo technology is going to stop that cone from running away more than it should. Where other subwoofers that don't have the servo technology, they may run away just a little bit more than they're supposed to and give a little bit of a boost to that attack than they're supposed to, right? But I've come to be used to that. I've come to enjoy that. It is what it is. Aside from the dynamics being just a little bit lacking, this thing's pretty good. I will say though, if you're a bass head, I'm not sure you'll love this thing, again, because it doesn't make its presence known. But if you're a super anal picky audiophile looking for maximum integration with great tonal accuracy and articulation, look no further. This thing's fantastic. I don't know how much more I could tell you about the subwoofer though. That's about everything. I've given you the sound impressions, I've told you about its features, and I gave you some comparisons. It did integrate well with every speaker I threw at it, and I don't have anything left to say. So if you have any questions, let's rap about it in the comments below. And until next time, later.